Alright guys, so we got some cool new stuff in Raid. We have Alien versus Predator as the new partnership cooperation that they're currently running here, and yeah, it's actually pretty cool. Now I gotta admit right off the bat that this is a little bit labeled around Predator Badlands. It's honestly not something that I even plan on watching. I've saw a couple of previews, a couple of reviews, and I gotta be honest, that to me personally is not Predator. So there's that. On the other hand, I'm actually a huge fan of both Alien and Predator. The old school games that we had also in the PC realm were quite fun, and just like the idea, of playing one of them was always pretty cool. So when we're talking about like the OG Alien, Alien 2, when we're talking about Predator there are some really, really cool things, and when they announced this whole partnership, I was just like, alright, this is going to be awesome. So we're going to take a very quick look, only just briefly, at what exactly those two champions are all about, because it's two champions in general, and the best news about all of this is that we're actually getting one for free. So while the last login champ that we got was Michelangelo, we're now getting the Xenomorph, and obviously tons of rewards here. So if you are currently a little bit of a hiatus, or you took a break, this might just be the moment to at least go for the daily login so that you get the free champ. And I gotta say, they're looking pretty cool too. So just for the OG vibes, I definitely want this, and I have to admit, Plarium is just knocking it out of the park lately. The turtle campaign was already awesome. I got 3 of the turtles on my main account, would have loved to go for 4. Wasn't quite in the cards for me, but still, just having the turtles rock up is amazing, and now having this, it's definitely really, really cool. So let's take a closer look at the champions, and also, of course, at the entire chase for the Xenomorph with the daily login. As so often with the campaigns, we have 2 phases for this. So with the first one, you get after just a week of logins, you already get the champion itself. There's a couple of extra tools being thrown in there, a bit of perception gear, which can just also be used in order to equip the champion, at least initially. We're talking about phase 2, then it's all about you getting the souls for the blessing, so you can get the avatar. So there's a lot of cool free stuff that you can actually get, which is quite nice. The funny thing to me, honestly, is that the Xenomorph is a Dark Elf. I'm not quite sure what to make of this. I honestly don't really know where I would have put the champion when it comes to factions, but Dark Elf was something where I was like, this kind of feels weird. So, I don't know. I've been racking my brain actually a little bit and was thinking, hey, where would I put the Xenomorph when it comes to factions alone? But I'm not 100% sure because, well, you got your Night Revenant is not going to be a thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Where would you have put the Xenomorph? Do you actually think that Dark Elf is something that makes sense for the Xenomorph? Or do you feel that one of the other factions would have just been a better fit? I mean, just looking at the champion, by the way, to give us a bit of an idea of what this is all about. So first of all, it's an attack champion, so everything is attack-based. And the entire thing is just centered around poison. So that immediately, obviously, screams clan boss, especially if you have a bit of a newer account that doesn't have a proper clan boss damage dealer. Currently, on some of my accounts, I'm still running this with Frozen Banshee, for example, and that might be the replacement. Let's just take a look at the A1 first, because it's obviously a little bit of a bread and butter one. So you're getting 3 poisons, essentially, which is awesome, always assuming that you're going for 100% crit, which with the champion of this you obviously always should do. And both the Predator and also the Xenomorph are actually highly centered around veils, which I quite like. So it kind of feeds into this whole stealth, the stealth persona that we have from both. So that they actually try to like hit, like the theme properly is pretty cool. From the model itself, this is also quite nice. But so we have on the A1 already a lot of poison that we're dishing out. And if you actually attack a champion, or if an enemy is attacked that has poison placed on it, then their defense decreased by 20%. So that already, for any fight where the Xenomorph is involved, is fantastic for the rest of the team as well. And then on top of it, if the Xenomorph gets attacked, you can even place more poison. So you have tons and tons of poison that you are basically just throwing out just through your A1 and the passive alone. And then on top of that, we have the chance to deal even more poison with the A3, replacing the perfect whale here. And you're just doing more damage. So, sorry, this one actually doesn't place poison. You do more damage if you have poison on the opponent, and the more, the better. So you can already see that you can actually combo this off with a couple of other poison damage dealers as well, especially when we're talking about the A3 here. I think Relentless Gear would also be probably quite good on this one if you can hit the accuracy at least, because the more poison you can stack, I mean, the more damage you're going to do. Obviously, you can only stack up to 10 debuffs, so there is a limit to it, but you can technically get a lot of damage out of the Xenomorph depending on where you're going to use them. So that also applies into some other bosses. We talk with poison obviously a lot about the Dragon Slayer too, but it might be very useful in, let's say, the Cursed City or the Doom Tower. And then we have his A2. So the A2 is a little bit more complicated. Over here we're working with Stun, Infest, and a True Fear. And the cool thing about Infest is actually that we are going to be revived if an enemy under the Infest debuff dies. So there's a couple of really nice debuffs that the Xenomorph brings. Again, very heavily through poison. We have also the True Fear here, which is also cool. We have the Veil. So overall, really cool champion that hits the theme of the Xenomorph quite nicely, and definitely something that is strong. The general consensus seems to be that when we're talking about a tier list, the Xenomorph is roughly a B plus, A, roughly in that realm. And of course, that highly depends on where exactly you currently are with your development of your account. So the earlier you are in the game, the more this is going to benefit you, especially, of course, in the areas that are already highlighted earlier. So all in all, great champion. Very happy with this as a free champ, and I'm definitely going to use this. It's actually kind of wild because you now start using a couple of champions that might not necessarily always be the best choice. But you're looking at it and it's like, okay, I just want to have some fun with this, and that's pretty cool. The big benefit, obviously, of all of this will also be that if you're going through the whole phase 2, you're getting a very, very nice 5-star blessing for the Xenomorph, and that makes the champion worth even more to you. So definitely a really cool one they're getting for free here. And, well, with a quick look at the Xenomorph, let's also take a look at the Predator. So one of the first things to note before we're actually taking a direct look at the abilities of the Predator is that the Predator is now one of the few champions in the game that can apply a Hunter's Gaze. And Hunter's Gaze is actually a pretty cool ability that is currently still a bit rare in the game, so that already makes him quite interesting. And with Hunter's Gaze, basically damage that gets dealt to a champion under Hunter's Gaze cannot be decreased, reduced, or transferred. And at the same time, also, if you are attacking a champion that is under the Hunter's Gaze, then it will ignore unkillable, block damage, increase defense, strengthen. So basically, like, everything that keeps a champion alive is being ignored through this. So it's a really powerful debuff that is currently fairly rare. Now, the first thing to note about the Predator is that this is actually an HP champion, so you already have an HP damage dealer here. Once again, we're talking... Depending on... Once again, by the way, it's a lizard man, so... like, I can't help but look at these factions and be really like, okay, is this really the Predator? And I still don't have a proper response to where I would have put him, but just like the thought of the Predator being a lizard man is kind of funny. Now again, it's an HP champion, so that's the first thing. Also, very, very strong, depending where you are with the game. The Hunter's Gaze in particular is obviously a powerful debuff, as I already highlighted right now. That is one of the most important things. What's pretty cool is actually that on your A1, you basically have a heal, so it's a little bit like you would be in a lifesteal set already. And you also have a passive effect when you evade, then you have a counter attack in there too. So that's when we're just simply talking about the A1. On the passive, talking about, by the way, about evade. So evade is one of those things where he has certain evade chances. We, again, by the way, play out here with a perfect veil. I already touched upon this when we talked about the Xenomorph. So again, they're hitting that entire theme of this being, you know, like a predator, like being a stalker, a stealther. Very similar to what we had with the Xenomorph. When we look at the passive over here, we're playing around a Veil again, and then you have the whole evade mechanic where he can actually dodge out on a lot of the damage, which is a pretty cool thing, just in general. Then on the A3, this is where things get interesting, because we have now a block revive that gets applied. We have also the Hunter's Gaze that gets applied. So you have a lot of tools already working for yourself right there. And this is going to be on a 3-turn cooldown if you book it. The cool thing about both of the champions, by the way, that we looked at is that they are both not too hungry when it comes to books, to tombs. So this is already a huge plus in my book, because we have like tons of those, you know, that are really impactful, but the problem that you always have is that they need tons of book to be fairly useful, and again, in this case, that's not really a thing. So now we have on the one side the Xenomorph as an attack champion, and we now have the Predator as an HP based champion, which is obviously really cool, and with the self-sustain that he brings in through his level 1 can help. You have the Veil tool as well, and this is just overall going to be really, really helpful, and for newer accounts in particular, this would be a huge boon to have. We're talking about the A2. The A2 has a couple of interesting damage mechanics, as you can actually see there. So you're basically attacking everybody also 2 times. There's a lot of stuff that you could still play around with a little bit. Every time that I see something where a champion attacks just everybody on the opponent's team, when I think about PvE content, immediately, you know, it could be stun or anything else for additional CC. Not really what I would look for with a Predator here, especially since the A1 only attacks a single target. But if you're using him, for example, in Arena, this could also be a really nice nuke that he has right at the start. So again, both of the champions, so far at least for me, on the aesthetics and on everything else that they bring in, really hitting the mark. The whole idea that they designed the kit around is also something that's a huge plus for me. The problem with the Predator is you actually get him through the pass right now. So while the Xenomorph is completely free, the Predator is available through the current pass. We're going to talk about this in a different video. But again, this was just meant to have a bit of a look at the 2 champions that we have and also announce the entire thing. Make sure that you log in and that you claim your free Xenomorph. The whole partnership there, absolutely awesome. Love it. Again, they're hitting it out of the park lately with the corporations that they're running, and yeah, very happy with this. So Xenomorph, very excited to try him out, and Predator, I honestly think that I'll go for him on my main account at least, but we're going to talk about that Elite Pass in the next video. Either way, let me know what you think about the factions. Lizardman and Dark Elves, is that something where you say like, alright, this is the best fit, or where would you place the 2? I'm actually quite curious, because I don't really know. It just feels a little bit odd to associate the 2 of them with those faction, but again, that might just be me. So thanks for watching, guys. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.